Hello, hello. This is Christina Barton. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello, hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we'll be talking about Chicago's very progressive mayor, Brandon Johnson, announced that he had planned to get rid of this high achieving selective enrollment high school to boost equity, though he claimed on the campaign trail that he would not do that. So I'm sure there's a lot of very upset parents of some, special high achieving kids who hope to give them some kind of better life. But of course, equity um, crushes the hopes and dreams of high achievers to force, I don't know, their worldview and everyone to kind of stay chained on the same level together. So we'll be talking about that. Also, there's this trailer for this movie that's coming out called The Society of Magic Negroes, and I saw it on Twitter today, and there's some people on the right who were upset about it, and so I want to talk about it, and I'm going to show the clip that's going around. I'm not going to show the whole trailer, but I'll explain what happened in the rest of the trailer. And it's funny because there's people on the right who are upset, and there's people who are reading the comments, and they're upset from like a left kind of perspective on it. And there's things in the trailer that's wrong and playing into like technically, you know, uh, playing into like a woke narrative, but there's things about it that are true. So I guess I want to overall talk about how everyone is so triggered by art, even though it's obviously has like coded political agenda, but does it still have something to say, even though it's not kind of our specific political bent and the value that it can still kind of bring. So I think it'll be an interesting conversation. And also Florida is pursuing the death penalty for someone who sexually assaulted a child. Ron DeSantis changed the laws recently, so this will be perhaps the first person who might be executed with this new extension. So there's a lot of people out there who don't like the death penalty for all kinds of different reasons, which I understand. But sometimes you get in conversations about abortion or something, and someone will be like, "Well, how do you feel about the death penalty?" Which I feel you can strongly justify the differences between the two. But then some people have an issue because they're like, "Well, how do you know if someone actually did it?" If someone went after a child, especially if there's like evidence like the child was impregnated or something, so you kind of know that the person like absolutely did it. In that situation, if it was that clear cut, would you still be against the death penalty? Because we have conversations acknowledging how awful and terrible of a crime that is, but it's still kind of amazing to me that people still only advocate that one person in the situation get the death penalty, and it's not usually the person who committed the crime, it's the baby. So anyway, we should have an interesting show today. Thank you to those of you who are in the chat. Thank you to those who are watching live, and to those who you watch it back later. If you're watching on Facebook, you guys can send stars. If you're watching on YouTube, you guys can send super chats. If you like to support a different kind of way, you guys can go to blacktnews.com, and you guys can get different stuff, merch on the website. But there's also a donation page if you'd like to do that as well. It does cost a stream and run my website, all that stuff you guys can support. I appreciate it, but it's 'tis the season, so if you want to get some for yourself or somebody else, you can still go to the website and pick up some different merch for yourself, like this "Denounce White Supremacy, Defeat Joe Biden" shirt with a list of his actual races and stuff on the back. There's plenty that didn't make the shirt, and plenty that was actually done after the shirt was originally made, but there's still a big list there that you can draw off of. And there's a long sleeve shirt version. I have the long sleeve, and it's very comfortable. I also have many books that you guys can check out. If you go to Black Tea News and go to merchandise page, there's a banner taking my book website. I have a bunch of fiction books, and then some nonfiction books, like my book, of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion, available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. Just search my name, Christina L. Barr. You'll find my stuff. Uh, anyway, I think that's we'll go for the intro. I don't have a meme for the day. I just want to go ahead and jump into the story. So, um, to get rid of Lori Lightfoot was no small task. That was really it's very rare that they oust a mayor like that in Chicago, and they did. And they traded her for a very progressive um, mayor, and who's already had some other questionable sort of ideas and policies. And so he's walking back on a promise that he made to his constituents before he was elected. A lot of people say things on the campaign trail and then they're not honest. So just parents out there who are so concerned about their kids, um, you can't trust people obsessed with the equity stuff to really make the best decision for your children as an individual, because they're obsessed with the collective mindset. And as a parent, you have to do what's best for your kid. So if you want school choice, if you like the idea of like the money following the student, rather it being locked into a school, perhaps it's a failing school and they get more money and it never seems to really help because they waste it, or sometimes people steal it, or it goes to administrative costs and it doesn't really help the overall learning environment. If you would like to drive competition, or to I don't know, maybe you educate them themselves but have those dollars help you as you go on a homeschool journey, but still like pay for like other sort of activities. There's all kinds of ways. Like my cousin took advantage, like Arizona has a plan like that. I think you still have to do like 10% goes to the school in the district or whatever, but like 90% goes to the rest of the students. So if that's the sort of thing that sounds interesting for your kid, don't trust a lot of these like Democrats to get that done. There's some that are for school choice, but there's an agenda with the teachers unions and other stuff like that where they can't fully embrace it and go after that. There was one legislator, I think it was in Georgia. Gosh, I think it was Georgia, but I'm not 100%. That ended up leaving the Democrat Party because they were so mad about how she voted on school choice and that she didn't believe in defunding police and other stuff like that. So they were trying to recruit people to run against her. So she just ended up, deciding to be a Republican instead. And she's going to run as a Republican. I don't know if she'll be able to keep her seat, but she's just trying to do what's best for her constituents, and they didn't appreciate it. So I mean, I don't love all the rhetoric you hear. If you watch Republican debate, they're like the teachers unions, they're so in the pocket of the teachers unions, and most people, they know a teacher, so they don't understand like perhaps the animosity toward the unions. But many of them don't want to focus. They believe in uplifting a system rather than the individuals. So at the end of the day, again, you have to do what's best for your child. So anyway, this is coming from the Daily Mail. Chicago's progressive mayor has announced plans to axe the Windy City's high achieving selective enrollment school to boost equity. Mayor Brandon Johnson's Board of Education has proposed shifting back toward neighborhood schools, away from the system where kids compete for selective programs. But when he was campaigning to be mayor, Johnson put out a statement saying that he would not get rid of Chicago's selective enrollment schools. According to Chicago Tribune, Woke Johnson specifically said a Johnson administration would not end selective enrollment at CPS schools. Now he's seen to be backpedaling by allowing a vote to stop gifted children from lower income backgrounds from academically competing to get to high performing schools. Selective schools cause a stratification and inequality uh, in Chicago public schools. Inequity in Chicago public schools. They don't care about equality. They just, it's equity, they're saying. Um, According to the board CEO, Chicago has 11 selective enrollment high schools: Northside Chicago Prep, uh, Gwendolyn Brooks College Preparatory Academy, John Hancock College Prep, Jones College Prep, Lane Tech, Lynn Bloom Math and Science Academy, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. College Preparatory High School, Walter Payton College Prep, South Shore International College Prep, Westinghouse College Prep, and Whitney M. Young Magnet School are also on the list. The schools are not just the best in Chicago, but rank among the top high schools in the entire country. Walter Payton College Prep is ranked 10th best. The 10th best school in the U.S. Northside College Prep is 37th. Jones College Prep rank is 60th. Now, a resolution is up for a vote by the schools board on Thursday. Chicago Public Schools CEO Pedro Martinez has prepared a resolution for a transition away from privatization and administration's enrollment policies and approaches that further stratification and inequity in CPS and drive student enrollment away from neighborhood schools. It would lay out 5-year transformation to effectively get rid of selective schools in Chicago, which have been heralded as gems of the city's education system. So they just want them locked in. Johnson's initiative would see kids automatically join the high school in their neighborhood rather than giving them a chance to join a better school further. You gotta so further afield. 6 years ago, Chicago's public schools set a new application system where every eighth grader could uh, apply for high school rather than enrolling in their neighborhood school. As a result, 76% of Chicago high schools do not attend their neighborhood schools. Instead, high achieving students have joined institutions where their peers are academically driven as themselves. Board President Julian Shee told the Chicago Sun-Times this plan needs to be guided and informed by the community. The goal is that we're able to change the current competition model so that students are not pitted against one another. Schools are not pitted against one another. Kill competition. School Board Vice President Elizabeth Todd Breland wants every neighborhood to create a strong, high quality pathway from pre K to high school. She said it shouldn't be a competition between schools. It should really be families knowing that, hey, my child can walk to school and have a great option. In an opinion piece written by the editors of Chicago Tribune, they said Johnson's people can call this resolution a roadmap or a transition plan or a framework or whatever they want. They must have a very low opinion of Chicagoans' intelligence. People will see what's going on here. The selective enrollment in high schools are stars in CPS firmament. All 11 of them, they're going to need defenders. Chicago has struggled for decades to keep its vibrant middle class from fleeing to the suburbs where the kids teach an ad while I'm reading this. Thanks a lot. There we go. Um, oop. Anyway, it's covering it. There's sound going and everything. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but it's distracting. But anyway, um, yeah. So I, did well. I went to I'm not a fan of public schools. There's fine public schools out there. I went to some that were nice. Where I graduated was a good public school. Don't know what it's quite like now. Um, but when I went to school, half my school career I was like in an urban, you know, area. Like it was Pontiac schools, and then I moved into Holly, and that was more rural. And I liked the Holly schools. In the Pontiac, there, it was what it was, but it wasn't the best. And I was a high achiever. And I really, really, really wanted to focus on my grades. I had goals of being like the number one in my class. I wanted to be valedictorian and stuff. And so I was the kind of kid who would come home from school and do my homework And so the idea of people being like, nah, we don't want your kids to have those kind of opportunities really just burns my biscuits. And there's lots of parents, especially minorities, who like options like school choice and other things, that want their kids to be able to, if there's a good opportunity for them, to take it. Just expecting everyone to go to the schools around them and that be that is it's a trap. and then um and then you stifle growth. Now, there were like times where they tried to like arrange people in the classrooms to kind of help this, I don't know, the peers. Like I remember one time in math class, I think this may be the fourth grade, if not the fifth grade, they arranged the room from like the kids who were like better at math and the people who weren't. So the kids who were better, when we finished work faster, we could like help our classmates. And I don't know how everyone else felt about that, but it was I didn't mind helping other kids, and I thought that environment was okay. But there are other times, when I was in, I think, the fifth grade, maybe, my class was so bad. And there was like a handful of kids who were, people were like, don't say kids are bad, they were bad, so bad. There's a handful of kids in my class who just wanted to do work, and there were other disruptors. We were punished all the time, all the time, missing recess and all that stuff. um Getting disciplined and whatnot, because we were just in a bad class. And then in when I was in sixth grade, man, our class like terrorized my sixth grade science teacher, I think it was. And she probably just felt horrible every day. Every day. It was such an awful class. And people did not want to come to learn, and they would mock her, and she would cry. It was such a terrible environment. And I would feel awful for her. But there's a handful of kids who were good, students who wanted to learn. It was just an entirely different environment when my family moved. And we didn't move seeking like some greater opportunity or anything like that. To be frank, we had some hard times, and we lost our house. And so life just kind of moved for us, that we ended up getting a place out in Holly, and academically it was a much better experience. So there was some positive in that bit of trauma, I guess that we had to experience. And um but yeah, your learning environment can do so much. Like I've heard, know of like relatives that they are pretty much troublemakers in their schools and stuff, and then they moved to a different environment and just kind of was set on a different pathway. So not having the opportunity to put your kids education first, and if it is just crazy. um you want to have the whole school, your neighborhood, your friend, all those people be able to have a good learning environment and build up the community and stuff. But sometimes you do feel like you're in a sinking ship. You can't change, you yourself can't control what other parents teach their kids, what morals and lessons and values that are instilled with them, that they bring to the schools, and act like they have some good home training. And sometimes people have like a decent family life, and they just go to school and just act up anyway. And and sometimes the teachers in the learning environment, that sort of way, isn't good. So if we had school choice, if we had those options, and so many people on the left or Democrats don't want those options, because they're like, well, you guys want to destroy the public schools. Well, if parents don't want public schools, isn't that an indictment on public schools? If they wouldn't choose the school that's in their neighborhood, that's within like walking distance or a short drive, where the bus route goes, you don't think that's a problem? That the parents would choose differently if they had the option, if they had the means? maybe people should figure out how they can be competitive. That's how companies get better. You have a rival here. I have a rival here. Let me do some prices here, price match there. Like, you got good employees. Shoot, I need better employees, so they'll want to come here instead. Your employees are really good. I might poach those employees. It happened at the mall all the time, by the way. Like, people needed new employees. They just go around and to different stores, and there's good greeters there. They'd be like, here's my business card. uh you don't need to work at Victoria's Secret, come here at Men's Warehouse. So people, that would happen all the time. So if people do that in business, why can't schools do that? Seek out, kids who are high achievers, or parents seek out schools that would be good for their development. People wanting to put any sort of dampener on that is disgusting to me, because they claim they want education, and they value it so much, but they don't value the choice. So shame on them. Shame on them for doing that. I'm not surprised that they went back on that, but Ron DeSantis in Florida, he won his first election by the skin of his teeth. Very, very slim um victory for that midterm election. I guess it was with 2018. But there's I think several reasons why Gillum didn't ultimately turn it out, because it was still like a swing state at the time. Um and some of it maybe had to do with some of the corruption stuff, but I don't know. Ron DeSantis was not a great campaigner, from like what I heard at the time, from folks. I think he's much better, I guess, now than then. But there were some different things that were just like, but school choice, they wanted to raise taxes. So people don't want to go to Florida to have their taxes raised, right? But school choice is a big thing. People want to be able to make the right decision for their kids. And I'm of the mindset, if Democrats are going to, then they're going to continue to do this. They're going to continue putting like abortion ballot measures for people to decide. They're like this Kate Cox story. They're definitely going. Someone today was like, we're gonna use that for everything, because I'm like, well, she didn't actually apply for the exceptions that's in the Texas law. And they're like, you guys say exceptions, but they're not really exceptions because they won't qualify. So I'm just like, if you guys are saying that you don't believe that any bans that there's actually exceptions, then that just means logically your next move is to say we can't afford to have any sort of restrictions because they won't honor any exceptions. So, but anyway, they'll make their pitch, and electorally, if we don't come up with some kind of if we don't get our ethics aligned and our messaging together, it's going to continue to not be good. I'll just be frank, because there's a lot of people on our side who are not good at this. To just speak plainly to you. But my thing is like, okay, if they're going to get us there, we need to move on them with school choice. We need to put that on the for a ballot initiative. That's what we need to do. Because I don't care how Democrat a state legislature is. I think the people would still say, you know what, that sounds like a great idea. I would love to be able to have some more opportunity for my children. And so not only do I think it's good policy, I think it would make them bleed a little bit. So I think it's petty good policy. So that's what I think we should push for in Michigan and other sorts of places to get school choice happen, passed in that sort of way. But yeah, my heart. Hopefully this. It said something about the article came out yesterday, so I think they're voting on it next Thursday. If maybe I'm not mistaken. But I hope this gets shot down, or the parents scream bloody murder and do what's best for their kids. I mean, if they don't want people to flee who have the opportunity to flee outside of Chicago, you got to make it worth their while to still stay. and make sure there's still some opportunities for their kids. Because at the end of the day, if people have that opportunity to give their kids a better life, they will take it. And for the people who can't do better for their kids, and you know they're shackled, and you think that's some kind of win, I think that's quite monstrous. I think that's quite monstrous. So anyway, moving on. This trailer for this film is pretty interesting. I don't know if I'm going to get dinged for copyright or not. I would imagine so, but probably not while we're live. So I'm going to go ahead and chance it. And I saw some people on the right who were upset. So I'm going to play part of the trailer because it's only the part that was going around. I want to show you what's the hubbubaloo, and then I will explain what goes on the rest of it. Now you guys can go ahead and watch the rest on YouTube online later. But it's a film called The Society of the Magical Negroes. And I've seen some people on the right complain about how woke it is. They're like, this is a parody, this is real. And we're just offended about people being offended today. So let me at least show you so that we can have some commentary.
I know you can feel their discomfort, Aaron. Watching you walk through a room full of white people was the most painful thing I've ever seen.
Excuse me. Sorry.
I want to take you to a job interview. There's a recruiting class starting right now, and we got to get you in it.
Welcome to the American Society of Magical Negroes.
I don't really understand.
It's easier to say. What's the most dangerous animal on the planet?
Shark.
White people, when they feel uncomfortable. White people feeling uncomfortable precedes a lot of bad stuff for us. That's why we fight white discomfort every day. Because the happier they are, the safer we are.
So the rest of first, I don't know if this is they got the idea from the Key and Peele skit, which I hadn't seen. I told my sister about the trailer, and she was like, the Key and Peele skit. So there's a skit, you guys can look that up later, but with Key and Peele, and they show up at this white guy's office, and at different times they're both trying to do something that's magical to help them, and then they realize that there could be only one, so they get into like a magic Negro fight with each other. So it's a funny skit. So the rest of this trailer goes on where they get him, I guess, equipped within the society, and he gets assigned a particular white person to look after, and because his morale is too low, so he has to do things to cheer him up. And then he ends up so he's watching over him at the workplace, and he sees this one girl, and she's a white girl. And then he is like complimenting her to the guy he's supposed to be looking after, and he's like, oh, you're trying to set us up. He's like, no, that's what I'm trying to do, because he was interested in herself. So all of a sudden the movie takes a shift, and it's like a rom-com. And so he wants to be with the girl, and they're like, no, but if you can't do that, because then it would make the white person upset that they're just supposed to be watching. And if you don't attend to his needs, then I guess the rest of the magic from the Negro society will go away. And so he has to choose, I guess, between love and then making his assignment of making the white person feel better. So and then all the black people at the Magic Society are upset, I guess, because he's not being the magic Negro that he's assigned to be. So it's funny because, at least to me, it's humorous, because there's people like from the right upset like about the white people being the most dangerous thing. Now, of course, that isn't true. But then I'm reading comments on YouTube from people who are upset because it's a light-skinned mixed black person, but then they still recruit him into their society, and then he falls in love with a white girl. So they're upset that the main character isn't black enough to them, and that he's not interested in a black woman, he's interested in a white woman. So there's like people on both sides are upset. So I was reading through the comments. There was one person who's like, "You're a Negro, Harry." Taking that line from Harry Potter that I thought was pretty funny. Because I can hear Hagrid's voice as I read the comment, and they even like spelled it out like you're um but a lot of people were upset about the turn, about it being a rom-com all of a sudden. But I guess they kind of needed a different plot to not just be that one joke for the entirety of the film. And I did I guess I find it more interesting than funny. I don't think I like laughed out loud during their trailer for it. I don't know how well it would do. But a little background on the magic Negro trope. That's something that I think Spike Lee coined, and he would refer to different. There's different characters in American literature and film where there's like a particular black character who will be like a side character who's there to offer some kind of support and uplift the white people all of a sudden. And then there's a super duper magical Negro, like in the case of the Green Mile. And so it's like there's a video on YouTube. It's like almost an hour long, talking about Stephen King's magical Negro tropes. Like in and they had the guy from The Shining. I didn't watch the video. I just saw the I guess a thumbnail. But there was the guy from The Shining who was there to help Danny, and of course the poor guy died. So there's different examples like that with the tropes, but there's also politically, kind of socially, I don't know how offensive people are like cringing at the concept for this film, but there's a lot of truth to it. And I just want to be honest with you guys today. Look back at Barack Obama. How many people do you know voted for Barack Obama, white people, and said something along the lines of, I thought racism was going to be over when I voted for Barack Obama. Like, I thought it was going to be over. And felt like, I don't know, like they had to do it. Like there was something like he was and there was even an article that dubbed him the magical Negro, as if he was I don't know, kind of the stand-in for a lot of people's white guilt, where they thought he was going to solve a lot of kind of moral conundrums or issues or guilt or privilege for people. And it wasn't even so much about his background and his policies, which he didn't have a lot of experience when he ran. As a matter of fact, Obama was asked not too long before he ran if he was going to run for president anytime soon, and he said, "I believe in being qualified for the job." So, there a lot of people didn't know a lot about Obama, what he would do, and all kinds of different stuff when he was running. Now, there's stuff that you could have looked into, but a lot of people hid stuff. I remember I was at we were having church in a hotel, and there was like another church that was also having church there. And so this is right before the election in 2008, and someone came up to me and was like, "Oh, who are you voting for?" I'm like, I'm going to vote for McCain." And they're like, "Oh, why are you gonna vote for McCain?" I'm like, "Because, Barack Obama doesn't represent, my religious views." And I wasn't like crazy about McCain, by the way, at the time, but I definitely didn't want, Barack Obama to win. And so they're like, "What do you mean? Obama's a Christian. He's gone to church his whole life." And so this is an older black gentleman. So I start just breaking down about a couple different things that I knew about Obama and some things that he had said, regarding like abortion and other sorts of things. I don't remember the whole conversation, but he was pretty stunned at I guess not ready for the things that I knew. And didn't really have much to say. I guess he just thought he was gonna like go over and educate the young person. That was my first election that I voted for. I was I guess I was 19, because I think my younger sister voted in the same election. We're a year apart, so she was 18, I was 19. So yeah. uh, um there's some truth to some people feeling like there's something magical about the Negro. And if you don't believe that, go back to 2020 when people were apologizing for their white privilege and just kind of expected vomiting out their white guilt, and apologizing was supposed to do something. And that was awkward. That was cringe. That was weird. That was a weird time. It was a really weird and frustrating time. And there are a lot of people out there who would take advantage of such folks and then just became bigger activists. And I'm sure you've seen videos of maybe people shining shoes and kissing feet and all kinds of weird stuff in 2020. But I'm just like, why why do you think apologizing to me or confessing you're white, what is it supposed to do? Like, go do something positive with your life. If you didn't do anything to me, why are you apologizing to me? I can't. If you didn't literally do anything, why are you why you what do you have anything to apologize for at all? It was such a weird time. But people do have a weird kind of fixation politically on black people. They just do. So watching the concept of the trailer, I just couldn't be like, oh, I'm outraged. I kind of thought it was interesting. And though there's obviously some woke things that are in there that, like, again, I don't agree that obviously it's not true that the most dangerous thing on the planet is a uncomfortable white person. Now they showed a cop in the trailer. When cops are at uneased in a situation, that's dangerous for anybody, regardless of what race they are and what race the cop is. Um, you know, be careful. You don't want them because they get into dangerous situations all the time, and they're the one with the gun. And it's just a dangerous situation to be in anyway. But of course, you living in a dangerous neighborhood where there's a lots of crime, black on black crime, violence, etc., etc. If you're in that kind of neighborhood, that's far more dangerous than being in a crowded room with some uncomfortable white people. So that line is inaccurate. But there are times when people definitely have made me feel like I'm supposed to be a magic Negro. And it's not just people on the left either. It's been some people on the right too, to you know, though they don't like identity politics, there's like, aha, but here's this special Negro to say the thing that I want them to say. And they act like, there's such a more special value because they're saying it. One time someone messaged me on TikTok or added me or something, and they wanted me to reply to someone's video about, I think it was like someone that was upset about white people culturally appropriating hair, or culturally appropriating, I don't know, it was a hairstyle or music or something. And then they, were expecting me to kind of be the black person that goes off and says, you're dumb for saying that, white people can do whatever they want to, I guess. And I I could do that, and that's how I feel like. But um the reason why people get bullied into those kinds of situations is because too many people just sit up and take it and allow themselves to be lectured like that. Like, you are well within your own means that you could just make a video and say, I don't care what you say, I'm gonna wear my hair however I want to wear my hair, or I'm gonna listen to music or dance or do whatever the heck that I want to. And culture is meant to be shared, and I'm not apologizing for it. And you know what? Black people will wear kimonos or do whatever kind of the heck they want to, and they don't get the kind of heat that white folks will be getting for cultural appropriation or whatever, and we're not apologizing for it. So I think I talked about this a little bit when there was a story about the Kansas City Chief and stuff a little bit. Of course, it turned out the kid was actually Native American. And his dad was Native American, and his grandpa was actually on some kind of special tribe board or something like that. But I kind of didn't know that originally from the picture, so the story just kind of evolved into just being kind of hilarious. But they went after that kid, and I'm just like, I, actually, I don't know if I voiced that opinion or out loud or not, but I'm just like, I'm pretty sure if that was a black kid, that the guy, Karan or whatever Phillips, I just don't see them probably making an article asking that the NFL condemns them, because they don't even believe that black people can be racist, because they don't possess the institutional power and all the kind of stuff that they would say. So I did do a video about it. I think it was a TikTok that I talked about this a little bit, but we're minorities. If you guys don't want to be bullied in that kind of way, if enough people just kind of stood up and say, you know what, we've had enough, it would kind of be over. And the same thing like with women and the transgender issues. There's so many women that just kind of lay down and take it or get on the bandwagon and stuff. And then so it's not just these men that we have to fight. It's these simp women who go along with it to feel special and magical, when if we just stood up and said, no, that's ridiculous, and we deserve our own spaces, and we shouldn't be mocked and disrespected in this kind of way. And our gender matters, our sex matter. They're meaningfully intertwined. The etymology of the word, they're just used interchangeably. And we're not going to just pretend for the sake of someone's feelings at the expense of our safety and so on. But no, people want to be, I don't know, edgy, liked, whatever. So just stand up for yourself. So I think it's an interesting commentary, to be frank. I'm not gonna rush out to the movie theaters to see it. That's not one. I don't think so. Not other than to maybe talk about it on the show if I see more about it. I don't expect it to be funny. Alan Greer, he's a funny, but I don't know. It didn't seem very funny to me. I just thought it was interesting. So again, just because there's something that is a bit woke doesn't mean that there's not some commentary that's interesting. Just like there's highly conservative stuff that's obviously seeping out their messages, that doesn't mean that the left couldn't watch it and learn from the commentary or whatnot. Though they probably won't touch it, because I don't expect a lot of people from the other side of the aisle to give Lady Ballers a chance, for example. And Lady Ballers, I have not watched it. I'm thinking about it. If I do watch it, I will give an honest review. I maybe chuckled a time or two during the trailer. There's some clips that the Daily Wire put out that weren't humorous, but were preachy. So in reverse, on the other side, when we don't like movies in Hollywood, that everything has some kind of message that you're trying to get across. But the usual issue that we have for like Hollywood films that we complain about so much is when it's a terrible message or an immoral message, we don't like that stuff to be pushed. But we don't like it to be forced. So it seemed so on the nose. So both sides can create content that is a little much. But again, that doesn't mean that there's not like a nugget of interesting commentary in there. I don't know what you guys think today, but um um spilling my thoughts. I'm looking at your comments a little bit. So someone said Lady Ballers was funny. I think they have something important to say. I just think it seemed a little forced to me, but I'm kind of interested, but there is like an expectation though of black people just not being comfortable around white people. And I'll tell the story and then I'll move on. In 2016, we were when Mike Pence first like announced that he was the a VP. He came to Michigan, so he was in the west side of the state at the beginning of the day, and then he came over to the to Novi area, and so for an event. And actually, I sang the national anthem that night, and my dad gave the opening prayer, and they did a news report that night, so they were interviewing different people in the crowd. So my younger sister they actually interviewed, and she was on the news. But when we watched the news report, they were talking about how Trump crowds were evolving and how they weren't all just white older men, that there were some young people and that there was some diversity in there. But they said, but it was overwhelmingly white. And it was so funny to me to hear the news, like, I don't know, anchor, someone wrote that script and they said it out loud. And I'm like, what the heck does overwhelmingly white mean? Like I've never walked into a room and looked around and was just like, "Oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed by all the white people." Like that's never been a thing. I mean, you might go into a room like, "Man, there's a lot of white people here," or like, "Huh, I'm the only one." But that's kind of it. It's not like a, oh gosh, I think I'm going to die here. Maybe there's like parts in the country where maybe you would feel that way in some pretty bad towns, where there might be a lot of I don't know, folks associated with a clan or something. But like to be in Novi and to be in a room and just think that it's okay to write a news report, it was overwhelmingly white. Just was heck of racist, guys. So that always I have to see if I can I think I found it before, maybe put on a TikTok video, but I'm sure it's out there and I can find it again. Because I did think it was funny. But just very strange wording that people are so kind of um have a bias against white folks like that. But I think the people who feed into it the most anti-white stuff are white people. And just cut it out, guys. It's weird. It's definitely weird. Black people have always had racial jokes, and you know, movies with jokes on race aren't going to go away. Um and if they're funny jokes, I'm gonna laugh regardless, and whether it's white, black, whatever, you know. Um so I don't know, I just don't think we should get too touchy when someone makes a joke, but obviously the line that they said just wasn't true. So I think that's worth pointing out. But I don't know, I'll probably see the movie one day and let you know how I feel about it. Anyway, last thing I want to mention before I let you go is in Florida, they're charging a man or recommending the death penalty. So this is from Fox 35 Orlando. Lake County man could be the first to face Florida's new expanded death penalty laws, the state attorney says. The state attorney's office indicted Joseph Andrew uh, Giepa Thursday for 6 counts of sexual battery upon a person under 12 years old and 3 counts of promoting a sexual performance by a child. The Fifth Judicial Circuit said they intend to seek the death penalty because of the severity of the crime and the impact on the community. A statement from the state attorney's office said the decision to pursue the highest penalty reflects the gravity of the charges and the state attorney's office dedication to holding criminals accountable for their actions. The state attorney's office acknowledges the sensitivity of this matter and the impact it has on the community. Our commitment to ensuring justice and protecting the vulnerable remains unwavering. Evidence reviewed by deputies shows Giampa allegedly having sexual relations with a minor. An arrest affidavit shows he was arrested on November the 2nd. Governor DeSantis signed a bill into law allowing for the imposition of the death penalty when the jury recommends death by a vote of 8-4 on April the 20th. On May 1st, Governor DeSantis signed another bill expanding capital punishment in the state, allowing the death penalty to be imposed for some sexual crimes against children. Florida and Alabama are now the only two states that allow the death sentences to be imposed after a jury's non-unanimous recommendation. So we'll see where that goes. But DeSantis announced some time ago that he was um going to expand the death penalty for people who committed such heinous crimes against children. And I know so many people have issues with the death penalty, and I've sometimes I'm like, oh, what if have reservations about it, and then other days you hear a story and crimes that are so grotesque, and you're like, I think I'm cool with it. But the some complaints about it is I've read once about how more expensive it is. I guess I don't know if it's because of all these kinds of different appeals and stuff that people do when you go on death row, but apparently we don't do it extraordinarily effectively or cost effective. There's people who are like, no, they should have to suffer for life what they did. Why, like, let it get it over. But if it was like it's I don't know. I don't imagine that prison is nice, but it's not exactly like how it used to be. So I don't know about like the punishment like that in the long game, but I don't know. Contrast this with like in California, Newsom. We talked about this some time ago. There was a man who Newsom, like, they stopped the death penalty. So he was on death row. He had killed I think two children of his children, and they found like the corpses, like, I don't know, he was like in his trailer or something that I think he was toting with them or something crazy like that. Um and he ended up getting not the death penalty because he doesn't want to. Well, he was on death row and knew some, like, stop the death penalty or whatever in California. So he ended up being transferred to a women's prison. And so instead of being executed for his heinous crimes of killing children, um, he got sent to a women's prison and had surgery and all that kind of stuff. So it seems really messed up. Like when Newsom's like, it's only like such a small percentage when he talks about trans issues, like it's so overblown. I'm like, bro, you sent a man who should not be here anymore to a woman's prison. And that's happening once is enough, but it's happening too many times now. We hear stories about dudes going to women's prisons. So when you hear stories like that, it's like, but the as far as like the ethical differences with being pro-life, the contrast with that and the death penalty, the innocence is the difference of like a innocent child who is needlessly and intentionally killed is far different than someone who's had their day in court. They've been found guilty, they've had appeals and so on, and they've done these awful crimes, and so they take your rights away, and you can be deprived of your life, liberty, etc., after some kind of due process, and the unborn don't get some kind of due process. So we treat these monsters who would go and abuse children better than we do the actual children in the womb. They don't get their day in court, unless there's some kind of ban or something. But so I think they're vastly different, and I don't understand how people bring that up as a kind of a gotcha and they can't see the difference, and they'll say like, well, it's a life, right? And then, but it's very easy to just say, you think it's a baby in the womb is the same as a mass killer? Obviously not. Obviously not. But a big contention that people have with the death penalty is, what if the person is actually innocent and they put an innocent person to death? And I think that's the biggest, probably legitimate sort of um dislike about it, I guess. I was looking for the right word to say, but that's a legitimate concern with it. But I pose this question once. I'm like, if it's a situation where they've sexually assaulted a person, it sounds like they have video, so I don't know. It seems pretty obviously that this person did it. Um, so he'll probably be convicted at that case, and I assume is probably going to get that death penalty. But if we knew in certainty that someone did actually hurt a child in that kind of way, do pro-choice people who are against the death penalty, why wouldn't you, if you had that certainty, why wouldn't you want that child rapist to be executed, especially if you think that the child should get the death penalty themselves? It doesn't correlate to me why we would expect that this person should get more rights and dignity afforded to them, that we should feel that their life is so valuable that we can't take it, that they get their due process, that they get their trial, that they get the investigation and all that stuff, and then still feel like they shouldn't get convicted, even if we're like certain that they did it. And you, in the case of like if they actually impregnated a person, we would know that if that's their DNA, is it not? So that they did the crime. How could you not at that point want that person, or at least maybe not want, but expect that that's a good punishment for that person to be executed, especially if you think it's okay to kill that baby. I just don't know how to square that circle with those folks. And I proposed that question, I think maybe on YouTube once, and I don't think I got much of a response from the people I was really asking the question to. Um, but people are very happy with Ron DeSantis and what he did, and at least folks on the right, and appreciate that move. And I think that it's mostly the right thing. There was a video, yes. Well, the report says there's a video. So obviously not something that I want to see. So he's probably gonna get that death penalty. He's probably gonna get that death penalty. And I guess may God have mercy on his soul, but I guess that's all I kind of have to say about it. But if you think that it's okay to abort a child but not execute a child rapist, I've got questions. I've got lots of questions. Lots and lots of questions. Especially in a case like this where he has a presumption of innocence. But let's be real. Let's be real. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. That's all I got for you guys. I hope it was an interesting show. Someone in the comments said they are overwhelmingly white. Thanks for the laugh. I don't know how serious you are, but thanks for the laugh. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, different videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider supporting at Black Tea News. You can go to the website, go to the donation page, and leave a gift if you can. If you, I know there's a lot of gift giving that people do for their family and friends, but if you can go the extra mile, appreciate it. It does cost to stream and run my website, all that stuff. You guys can again appreciate it. Check out different merch that we have at the store. There we have shirts, we got different mugs and so on. You guys can get. We also have books as well. If you go to Amazon, follow me on Amazon. My stuff is there. If you go to Black Tea News at the merchandise page, there's a banner. They'll take you to my book website. And so I do have lots of fiction books for all kinds of different ages. And I do have nonfiction books like Slay Your Fear, How to Overcome a Spirit of Fear. And I started writing this during COVID, which, by the way, I'm going to mention this real quick. There was a story I read today about this woman who has long COVID in Canada, and she's basically bedridden all the time, and she's like allergic to everything, so she doesn't really eat. Her quality of life is just not good. So applied for MAID, which is medical assistance in dying. She applied to be euthanized. So I don't, at this point in time, I don't know if she is going to be approved. But it also, like, an article said that she's mostly still doing it for financial reasons, because she's so sick that she couldn't really work. She's just kind of bedridden, so she lost her job. But also her medical expenses are what's really killing her. So why are so many people in Canada, and maybe so many is a, I don't know. I was gonna say over exaggeration, but it's like 4% of their deaths now are euthanasia. And I keep hearing stories, like we're constantly lectured in America about our medical system, which isn't great, but they say we need things like Canada, and Canadians are like, oh, you Americans, you should have this universal health care. I can imagine not having to pay for this that you guys pay for, et cetera, et cetera. But I keep reading stories about people who are being euthanized because they can't pay their medical bills. So what is going on here? Or doctors suggesting euthanasia and patients feeling that they're coerced because of medical bills. So people should not feel like they have to just take the out option on life because things are too expensive, especially in a country where people keeps bragging about their healthcare is so great and they don't have to pay for stuff. Now we know that's not totally true, that they don't have to pay for stuff. And obviously that's true. It's not true. there was one person, I think they were maybe a veteran or something, and they just wanted, I think a chairlift, and they couldn't get it, or they were having such trouble getting it. They were just kind of like ready to tap out and do medical assistance in dying. So Canada, are y'all okay? Are y'all okay out there? I'll have to, like, one day just assemble a couple different stories, but I time and time again I keep hearing stories about people who are, not, they have a medical condition or something, but the real reason why they plan to, like, take themselves out is because there's some kind of financial pressure and they are allowing themselves to be alleviated. And by the way, I think if you just got rid of, like, the health reasons, there'd probably be people who would just be euthanized for financial strain too. I worry about the repercussions of all this. I mean, I'm not for it anyway, but for already 4% of the deaths. And when you do have, like, socialized medicine and there's money to be saved and made from this, a lot of things become ethical issues really fast. So just craziness going on in Canada. I mean, poor woman with the her symptoms and everything that's going on. And I saw it on Twitter, and there are people who are just like, oh, this isn't true, or oh, it's in her mind, and etc. Blah blah blah. And I'm reading her conditions. I'm just like, all this doesn't sound made up. So I don't know if people didn't read the article, but the amount of people just mocking her was a bit disturbing, but obviously disturbing, the whole situation with the euthanasia. But anyway, I just the COVID book. It's not a COVID book. I just wrote it during COVID because people were so afraid. You guys know what it was like, and they were allowing themselves to be so cruel to each other because of their fear, that I just was inspired to write this. So this is a faith book that I have available on Amazon, and that you guys can order paperback, or you guys can do ebook. But my other nonfiction book was, of course, God is blatantly against abortion. So you guys can check that out as well in my fiction stuff. But God bless you guys, and I hope you guys enjoy your weekend.